There's been an unexpected delay on my end. Set the timer for 60 minutes. Let's go, Challenge Series. Why in the hell did I just do a Sonic Adventure 2 reference to intro an episode? Call it a coping mechanism. I'm not sure. Anywho, the Challenge Series has returned. Production on a side story was, inefficient at best. And that is why it has taken so long for us to get to the 135th week of the series. We are here for 715 class racing at Lago Maggiore Circuit, or Lake Maggiore. I think Lake is probably just easier to say. I say that like I'm saying Maggiore right. I doubt it. But yeah, we'll just head trackside. We are green. I also tell a lie, it's not just 715 class racing. It is a multi-class race. The front half of the field is the 715 class, but then we also have 640 class cars taking the track at the same time, and there are new cars, debuting in both. I might have gotten a glimpse at one of the new drivers. No, cars. It's not a new driver. No, it is a new driver. Man, I don't know what I'm talking about. I have to get back into the motions here. Kotone Takamiya, who is more insistent on her nickname, Phila, driving the weirdest sounding Pontiac GTO I've ever heard in my life. I haven't heard many, but last I checked, they don't sound like that. It's got a really good run on Dick Trivial and the Superbird there, but it's gonna... Oh, no, it's not gonna stall out. She's going to literally slide in ahead of the 46. Fernando Ferranzi is the POV driver in his Maserati MC20, getting minimal airtime as he attempts to pass Barbara Page. Nearly gets dumped by Charlotte Riel. And great teamwork there from Yujika Rain. Literally a week removed from her actual debut in her Nissan 180SX, she brings a freaking SLR McLaren to the pitch. That's quite an evolution, I must say. As Fernando Ferranzi, still trying to find a way by that C8 Corvette. Down the inside, very understeery at the center of the turn, nearly forcing the 55 car to exit the track. I don't think that's the way Fernando wanted to make that pass, but it is the way that he has made that pass. And now he is up behind his teammate, Eric Wachowski, in the 458. And longtime rival of that entire team, Stephanie Kaiser, is the race leader. About a second and a half in hand over Jackson Steele. Mopar Garage has all four of its drivers on the track today, but not all in one category. Jackson Steele and Evelyn Sienna are handling business in 715 to varying degrees of success, whilst Spencer Snyder and Dick Trivial are attempting to get things done in the 640 class and having even less success, because at least Jackson Steele is second in class. They're nowhere near that in theirs. Battle of teammates, leaderboard moment, but Eric's not going to fight that too much. That's a teammate. Obviously a teammate that's got some real race pace at the moment. A bit of a wheelie, but Fernando is unfazed as he takes off in pursuit of the light blue Viper ahead. It really didn't take very long, all considered. Just a pair of S's later, and the Maserati is already going for it down the inside. It's just textbook. There's not much to be said there. Now it's Eric versus Charlotte. This is still the same team as Stephanie Kaiser, so it is still Porsche AG versus Scuderia Ferranzi to long-time rivals, even though these two drivers don't necessarily have much, much association with one another, so to speak. These two barely know each other, all things considered. Let's see if Riel has a move. Eric goes defensive, so that's a no. And Fernando is closing in on the Carrera GT, leading the way. Rain on debut, or at least on this car's debut, is just kind of holding station. It's Silica that's really having problems. Her R33 here is also new, and it's definitely got some growing pains. There's not a whole lot of power to be had in this car at the moment. Literally on an island. Looks like Fernando is catching, basically has caught Stephanie Kaiser. And I don't think it'll be long now before we start to see an actual battle. No, literally just like a corner or two later. Puts his car there, he gets to the outside of the Carrera. It is going to be a drag race down to the banked corner at the bottom of this hill. Stephanie late on the brakes. That's a line, but track limits at this hairpin are kinda usually just ignored, so just kind of ignore that. Everybody else is gonna, I can tell you that. Up the S's though, and Fernando's just high-speed adhesion is not matched. New leader, Fernando Ferranzi. It is very close for the 640 category. They are basically where we left the camera from the leaders, and the lead battle. They're actually catching Silica. That's how far off this R33 is off pace. There's no cornering grip. That's what it looks like to me. 65 miles an hour through the final turn? That is absolutely pathetic. Silica is either just not confident in that car, which should be among the most stable cars money can buy. It's a Skyline, for crying out loud. And she's got a DeLorean and a 308 tracking her down. Two cars that aren't really the kind of cars you think of when you think of stability. But, depending on massive probationary status, along with Reiko back here, who's trying to keep this GTO behind. That's a line take. That's actually probably more of a logical one, but nobody else takes it, so it doesn't work. Fanny might literally be dealing with reverse lap traffic in a second here, as she's attempting to keep Francesca Ferranzi at bay. Attempt to prevent Scuderia from winning both categories on home soil. Fanny Golden and her DeLorean is the only thing in the way of that achievement. She's going to have drafting help. She's going to be able to get the draft off the R33 that's in the upper class. Top speed's not even that far off of said R33. I have lost track of the leaderboard. Final corner. Fernando Ferranzi was mostly uncontested after taking the lead. He is going to win from Lake Maggiore. Stephanie will be defeated by the Scuderia, and Jackson Steele takes the final podium place in the Viper. Eric Wojciechowski fourth, so it's a 1-4 for the Scuderia. For Silica, it is absolutely back to the drawing board, or perhaps back to the junkyard to find a new car. The replay has ended. One ended replay later, and Fenny will win the 640 class from the category pole, basically. Francesca Ferranzi was right there the whole time, but just could not get just momentum going. She couldn't set anything up to try and take it away. So Fenny will be the winner in that category, and Fernando Ferranzi just kind of blew through the pack and will win on home soil here in Italy. The hills of Austria will play host to the second race of the week. Tuesday brings us 525 category action from the Red Bull Ring short layout. I believe it'll be the first time we're using that in the challenge series. Maybe we've used it once or twice in the 500 class days. But it just never really seemed like there was much of a point to use the full layout. No, cut that. It never seemed like there was much of a reason to not use the full layout unless the cars were excessively slow, which this category just kind of is. There's no other way about it. The cars in this category do routinely struggle to exceed the speedometer limiting. You know how like most speedometers stop at 120 miles or 180 Ks? A lot of these cars just kind of don't do that. So, yeah. Might as well use the short layout now. We are away from the Red Bull Ring after I had basically an ADHD moment. That's just something for editing Riker to deal with. And off to turn 1 we go. Barely pushing 90 most of the field. Looks like it's a drag race between Vert and Futaba down to turn 2. The Atenza will outbrake the Jimny. Doesn't really surprise me once I say it out loud. And we have another debuting driver this round. Logan Dorsey. Ironically, same name as Logan Cool, who's the POV driver. And that's the guy who recruited him too. Or I guess more so handled his recruitment form as an admin. And he is also the POV driver in his Gatorade Miata. He's already into 12th at the end of a single lap of running. With a clean lap 1. Yeah, we're struggling to hit 110 coming up that hill. That's basically the highest speed any car gets on a lap here without the, well, you know, the run up to turn 3. Well, what the FIA calls turn 3, we all know that's a load of crap. Up into the top 10 for the Miata. Dueling with Yukiko, who is very sideways into turn 2. And that will allow the Miata to escape. Now Cool can go after the other Miata on the grid, Sam Hilton. It's like nothing's doing really into turn 1, except for Logan. Well, Cool. Yeah, I have to specify that now, I guess. I believe made passes into sector 3, but the replay cameras missed them. Don't know what they're looking at. We just cut ahead anyway. Logan Dorsey is really trying to put the pressure on Akira Taniguchi in the Copen. As Logan is now ahead of Joshua Riggs in the S13. This for the battle of the late 80s lightweights there, and the Miata wins this bout. Definitely be mindful of that inside curb on that last turn. Especially in these lighter cars, that's going to be an absolute nightmare to deal with. But a third of the distance of the race has been completed. Dorsey just went a little bit defensive. After seeing a battle of the Logans in due time, but first, apparently, Dorsey sees fit to go after the Copen of Taniguchi. One of the two, anyway. Just move to the inside. Gets it done. The other Logan will follow him through and actually get both cars for the price of one with massive overspeed heading out of turn 2, 3, and 4, basically. Heading down towards turn 1, Logan has a run on the Jimny, but it is blocked, I believe. The camera didn't really show it, but the speedometer did. Riho played a bit of defense, preventing Logan Cool from having more overspeed. They'll not be winning the drag race, but attempted crossover. Nope, never mind. He's just gonna cut down the inside. Just basically sold a dummy on Ryo Futaba for second place, and still has that same overspeed on Vert anyway, which he will use to overtake fellow Mazda driver Kerry Vert and carry himself to the race lead. Further back in the field is pretty much not much is really going on. Tao was looking at a pass on AJ Unleaded, but will not come to pass, literally. Almost a totally clean race. Amber Ashhart had a bit of a braking error and found herself in the back of an opponent's car that it didn't damage them, but it damaged her little Mini. Clean Teresh, not doing much on home soil. The behemoth that was the garbage truck in its first two races really is not amounting to much. Also, Chelsea West, I forgot about, is back on the Challenge Series circuit. This is apparently basically a remodified Jeep to run in 525, since the previous one was obviously equipped with a Hellcat engine for Dirt Division, but that no longer exists. She pulled out of the series for a bit when that went under, and she returns now as a 525 driver. This is, I believe, the third time that Chelsea West has officially signed up for the Challenge Series. She has gone in and out and in and out. It's honestly anyone's guess if she actually sticks around this time or not. Because the other Logan, the debuting Logan in the Demio, is getting a little feisty with the Suzuki Jimny of Futaba after setting the lap time record up to this point in the race. Could maybe outbrake the Jimny, and does so into the podium positions. We got two Logans up there now. Oh, never mind. Ryo's coming back at the Demio. Inside lane for 3. Basically, the switchback maneuver denies the Mazda driver the third place he so desired. I have to keep waiting. He's going to really be waiting a while, because once we get to the front straightaway, the Suzuki has plenty of breathing room. 2 laps to go for Logan Cool. My neck is cramping. It's been doing that a lot in the last 2 months. Kinda concerning. Everything is basically all squares around here. Not much going on. Except for AJ Unleaded taking a shot at the Sports 800 down the inside. Very much old versus new Toyota, and the Hybrid Aqua will take the place away. Let's see if maybe there's a bit of overspeed or perhaps some slipstream. You don't really get much slipstream at 100 miles an hour, but you get something. Not enough, though. Not for Kitano to try and respond. The white flag is in the air for Logan Cool. Seems like a little more than a formality at this point, considering he's got a safe cushion. He's not exactly driving away with it as Ryo takes a peek at Dirt turn 1. Ultimately nothing doing, I think just kind of messing around there, trying to test the water. To be mindful when doing that, or you could leave yourself vulnerable to being attacked. Dorsey knows that. He gives it an attempt, but that's effectively the last real passing zone we see on the whole track right there. You can't really get it into turn 1 and or 2 unless you have a massive amount of momentum. But the only one who seemed to really have that momentum today was Logan Cool. Penultimate corner. Final corner. Dab on the brakes, avoid the bouncy curb. Victory for the Miata. Logan Cool wins. Logan Dorsey 4th on debut. Chelsea West returns, but doesn't really get a whole lot of return on the investment, so to speak, with 18th. We are here from Mount Panorama for the Wednesday edition of the Challenge Series. This is the race I was kind of dreading commentating for a couple of reasons. I think we'll just get into the race and I'll just cover it as we go. But to the keenest eyes and to the ones who are in the know in the paddock, what I'm about to mention as we get into the 675 class race here at Bathurst is not necessarily a secret, but it's still something that, for those who don't know, you know, it's not super obvious. Actually, it might be super obvious. It's just I've just kept the camera away from them for the most part, or even from myself. But I mean, I'm not going to be able to just ignore it forever, especially not this race. So might as well tear the Band-Aid off. The light turns green. We are away from Mount Panorama / Bathurst. Hometown girl Isabel Aspinall is the POV driver for the race. And the very recognizable, we'll say, 2015 Mustang. I got confused with the leaderboard. No, that's her sister, and that's me. Or except I look a little different today, and we'll get to that at probably around the end of the first lap when the initial action maybe settles down a touch, because we are about to climb the mountain. Logan Dorsey has another new car to show off. He goes from a Demio to a Focus. He's very clearly a bit of a hot hatch enjoyer. And he started on the outside pole and outdragged Thea into turn 1. So admittedly, it's quite clear that a couple of people managed to do that, so I don't know. Maybe it's not that impressive. 370Z is not known for massive power output. Very congested at the top of the mountain, as you can very clearly see. Isabel tries to pick her way through the mid-pack, down into 12th, going down the hill, just outbraking Vegas, and it's not even a contest. As the better line down the mountain, ahead of Stouts in the C63. A lot of heavyweights through here. And somehow it's one of the lighter cars in the section. Alan Thornton, also debuting with a lot of fucking damage on the car. We're gonna have to be a little quick about this, I reckon. This is Alan Thornton. That is well, not an active, but he was active pretty recently in the NASCAR Cup Series. But this you're seeing here is actually his ARCA car from 2009, I believe, when he basically made his debut in that series, thus being pretty much his foray into into NASCAR, so to speak. Except for the fact that you notice it's a Pontiac, because it's a they call it a zombie body, a stock car shell that just kind of existed, and he turned that into his ARCA machine for his rookie campaign and the year after that. It's not unheard of, but it's pretty rare in NASCAR, especially nowadays when even the smaller teams will get some kind of factory support. I suppose I might as well just cover it now while we have the game paused. Yeah, you'll notice there's not been any Mercury Racing representation thus far. That wouldn't be the weirdest thing, since we're only at Wednesday, but I mean, you can very clearly see this is Rin Hoshizora's Camaro, but it's also not. And this is very clearly Umi's Audi TT, but it's also not. And I have been in all 3 races, driving my normal cars, but with the same uniform dark silver and navy blue color scheme. And a turn of events that I can only describe as outstanding, if not even a bit stupefying. Mercury Racing no longer exists, and has been replaced by Avenir Motors. I think that's the official name of the term. Official name of the team. It's either Avenir Motors or Avenir Racing. I think it's Avenir Motors, though. It doesn't matter. What matters is Mercury Racing no longer exists. Their vehicles are now owned by the Avenir Corporation that bought out the team after last week There's a whole story behind it, but basically, fucking, I don't even know how to... some fine print wasn't read, and Avenir basically bought out Mercury Racing, put some non-compete clauses on the entirety of pretty much all of my team, but I'm still under contract. I don't have the means to buy out of it necessarily because they put the buying price way too fucking high. So I'm contractually obligated to race all 5 races this week. In liveries that are not my own, in a team that's not my own. I can't just kick a corporation out of the series. So it's not really that simple. So I'm stuck here driving for Avenir Motors while my teammates and close friends are just kind of stuck on the street, pretty much. Living in cardboard boxes and hoping somebody drops a couple of coins into their empty cup or something. But yeah, so they're pay drivers in the cars right now. They own the cars. They don't even have official people assigned to them, so they just have... Yeah, pay drivers that were just around from a filler category that raced here not too long ago. It's Alexei Popov, Tommy Patel, Nikolai Sternberg. Somewhere is Stefano Nixon and Rolf Schultz. Driving the cars that did belong to Kotori, Honoka, Haneo, Umi, and Rin, respectively. That out of the way, we'll attempt to ignore them and carry on with the race. They're running second and third. It's going to be a little difficult to do that as the race progresses, but we will attempt to just kind of pretend that they aren't there. Yeah, this isn't working. Dorsey is hanging on to the lead, a little bit of suspension moment, but he does keep that Alfa Romeo at bay, and I just start referring to them exclusively by the vehicle they're driving. The Alfa Romeo, the NSX, and so on. I almost thought this was an Avenir car from the back. I was like, 370? No. Interesting. I heard the horns blaring in a very sideways Isabel a minute ago. Up. That'll do it, yeah. So Isabel's already a little sideways out of the chase. She's trying to fight Bernice White. Buck almost starts to move over. First of all, he brakes super early. You could just about brake at the 100. He's not doing that. He was braking at damn near the 140, 150 mark. He moves over to the middle of the track. And then starts to come back over. And there was technically a lane left there, but that's still moving in the braking zone. Isabel's thinking he's going to try and go back to the far outside. And we damn near have a crash. And then he gets into her for good measure. Can't be fucked to slow down on exit. Also defends into turn 1. And Isabel's had fucking up and gives the bumper to the back of the R32. Now they both have damage. It didn't need to happen, because Buck is either A, fucking with Isabel, or B, forgot how to drive. Moving in the braking zone, it's like one of the cardinal sins of racing, especially when you move left and then right while on the braking, while braking early. Waitaka assholes is what he is. He's multiple. The quote works, but it also doesn't. The new guy in the Focus has lost the lead, but Isabel is still trucking despite damage, just kind of scares the shit out of the pay driver in the BMW, which now kind of looks like Michael Krieger's car in that color scheme, now that I look at it. Kind of wish it was. I'd rather he be on the roster. I'd rather on the lineup instead of Nikolai Sternberg. down the hill, now up to the back of the teammate slash also sister of the driver that Isabelle had a problem with not 2 minutes ago. Except this one is not a fucking dipshit and lets Isabelle get ahead without, you know, trying to put her in the grass. Damn near got back up to her. The damage in the front end of that Mustang is basically working like a parachute. There, Isabelle gave that damage to herself, but also, Buck totally fucking deserved that. Even Evo and a Urus fighting for 12th. That is a challenge series moment if ever I saw one. Now, Isabelle trying to get her way into the top 5 gives a bit of a door check to the NSX that was formerly driven by Honoka. I don't think she's taking this field shit anymore. It's not really like her to be aggressive. She's kind of like what some would compare to a Mark Martin or this is another really just kind of passive driver that people actually know. Maybe a Coulthard? No, I don't think he was really passive. You don't really get anywhere in F1 being passive necessarily. Yeah, Isabelle's not really like an aggressive person. It shows just, you know, she wears it on her face in the paddock and everything. She's often been called a walking teddy bear, and there's a good reason for that, but she is also a very fast teddy bear, especially on home soil, and no amount of front aero damage is really going to stop that. Or oversteered, for that matter. She's going around the outside of Jackson Steele. Oh my god! This hot pink Mustang goes around the outside, then down the inside of a fellow Ford driver, although that's the Focus, not the Mustang. Slowly making their way down the hill, basically waltzing at that speed, but Isabelle will finally clear. And now can get after that Alfa Romeo in the lead. She idolizes the girl that used to drive that car, but it is not going to be the same thing. There will be no love lost here, I imagine, especially based on how Isabelle raced Buck and later the NSX a moment ago. That's not KOTORI she's trying to pass. I don't think she's going to be trying to make any formality out of it or anything. She's going to be making an overtake and nothing else. The 8C defends. Doesn't get it stopped. They do. So this one has some skill then. Still defending as soon as they exit the final turn. Yeah. Parking the bus, preventing the crossover attack from the Mustang, but I don't think it matters. It's going to be a drag race. They're side by side going towards turn 2. Jackson Steele working in the background in case things go horizontal. Later braking inside lane, Isabelle Aspinall, new race leader, with just under a lap to go from Bathurst. Looks like a good pair of corners will get her some breathing room. And Jackson Steele is now in hot pursuit. He wants to get himself P2. He had a good run at Lago Maggiore earlier in the week. 3rd overall, and obviously back into 3rd in class. But he's not driving the same car here. He's driving a Charger, not a Viper. Chasing after an 8C. That's going to be a tough customer, especially once we get out of Forrest's elbow and onto the back straightaway. That Charger is absolutely rapid. There's a lot of horsepower under that hood. Even Isabelle might be at risk because of her damage and the fact that she's not going to have any slipstream helping her. I don't know that the 8C is going to be close enough for any slipstream, but I think Steele is going to manage to probably drag himself into that range. Time for the horsepower wars, which Isabelle is 100% not winning, but she doesn't have to win because she has the lead. She just has to be ahead at the end of the next turn, which it looks like she's equipped to do that. very late braking, but still gets stopped perfectly fine. Yeah, you don't really do much from that distance. I think the 29 car has this one sealed and delivered. One last braking zone. Keep it in third for traction. Isabel Aspinall will defeat the sinner behind her and will win from her home track. Not Kotori gets second. Jackson Steele with another podium on the week. And Logan Dorsey with another 4th place on the week. Takahata doing the GTR model line relatively well here as well at Bathurst, where, well, it's not quite this generation, but Skylines definitely strike fear into the hearts of people around here, I can tell you that right now. We are here for Thursday's Laguna Seca round. Or, excuse me, the penultimate round of the week is at Laguna Seca. Another kind of oddball one, the 750 class is racing here today. Yeah, this is the one I didn't run. This is also the one I didn't arrange. You can kind of tell Logan had some hand in this one. And the reasons why makes sense when he explained it to me, but that explanation won't even make sense out of context anyway. So. The penultimate round from Laguna Seca is away. Rebecca Briggs gets immediately eaten alive off the green. Thea Angelos is the POV car. She plays a bit of pinball with the side of Riley Blanchard's Corvette, but no damage done to either car. And there's me again, and honestly a car that doesn't look that different, all things considered. The top was black before, now it is silver. Quite the strong start from the Supra of Thea Angelos, already in 12th. We are only through one sector of racing. God damn the popcorn! We're gonna move the camera away from you. I can't even hear myself think. I believe there's only the one debuting car. It's also a new driver. Lightning Larson. As I understand, not on the same team, but he's actually driving for Avenir Motors. He's my teammate, that's right. I forgot about that because his car is the only one that's allowed to look different because it doesn't have any accents to make blue. This is, I believe, a glorified test car anyway, so his two Corvette drivers managed to try to do a trip over each other back there. I think Satoshi Rollins just gets the braking really wrong, tags the back of the Camaro, and nearly causes chaos. And Jake Scarborough at his home track also almost causes chaos behind them. Not the only one either, as James Stillwell also miscalculates braking and gets into the back of a TS020. Notario did it even worse though. Just usual corkscrew things. But back to Larson, is associated with and in some way related to the drivers of Demon Sports, except for Rebecca Johnson. I don't remember how. The family tree is a mess. They're not really humans, so just don't pay it any mind. The point is, Lightning Larson is here. He has a DCOM 2008 Nissan GTR GT500 car, and he is absolutely fucking stomping at the moment. Fist, as I understand, Logan may have used his influence to get Larson to debut at a track he liked, and that he felt his car would be the best equipped to compete at. Despite the fact that he's not technically driving for Demon Sports, I guess Logan clearly obliged, and here we are running the fastest category of car at one of the most technical, low-speed circuits in the world. My god, that is also very loud. Carson with damage. Looks like Notorio's to blame. Another driver just miscalculates the braking. He technically would have gotten that stop in time, I think, but there was an NSX in the way. Oh, good lord, people. So, we've ever seen the corkscrew before. Fia's attempting to pass Jake Scarborough. Though that battle wouldn't really get anywhere for about 30 more seconds. We take it up to the other end of the track at the kink. Very good exit for the Supra. Despite the four-wheel drive benefits owned by the Porsche 992 she's fighting. Jake, just about keeps it on the circuit for that. But Fia can definitely capitalize off a corkscrew like that. Crossover attack! Around the outside, that is one hell of a conversion. Off of what seemed like a relatively minute mistake. Sending it down the inside, Jake just did everything but the chrome horn, though, to take it back, so the war rages on for at least another half a lap, probably, to instead take it back out of turn, I guess, what is that, 4? Heading down the short chute to 5 and or 6. Super late braking, Scarborough attempts his own crossover attack, and Fia getting a little bit of sand on her tires isn't really helping her matter. Back around the outside at the kink, though, that's like some sort of weird offensive defense that I feel like only a Demon Sports driver could really find any sort of skill or success with. I certainly don't know how to do that kind of shit. Oh, we got Riley Blanchard in the back of Reiko now. This woman is just a magnet for bullshit. No damage to the Corvette, but damage to the much more expensive F40. Oh, Wild was loose on the little hump there. And Fia's gonna try and take advantage. Crossover attack, better traction. Viper with a bit of sand for good measure. Still not gonna work. And Wild takes that exit more laterally to avoid a second crossover. But she'll just do it on the next corner. Crossover attack, but the Viper has more horsepower and thus stays ahead. That's a bit of a squeeze. He is not taking that shit. He definitely remembers the American tour from a handful of weeks ago. And remembers that Mark had a bit of an excursion involving her brother. Lungs, please. However, as we now begin the final lap, I have a sneaky suspicion that's all that Fia is going to be getting is third. Two dedicated race cars are so far up ahead. And for that matter, even they aren't even that close together, so... I can't even begin to imagine what that deficit is. It's got to be at least 7 seconds. Probably growing as time goes on. Then we can see it's another 14 back or so, based on the lap time interval on the top there, between second place Juan Santo and Fia in third. And that's just kind of how things are going to wrap up. Final corner for the GTR GT500. Lightning is going to take an absolutely commanding debut victory from Laguna Seca, the penultimate round at Laguna Seca, no less. Juan Santo did everything he could, very clearly. Still way ahead of everybody that isn't in a GT500 car, and the so-called best of the rest honors will go to Fia Angelos, who makes her own way through the final hairpin. That's to the start finish line for a podium finish and the fastest street car. Hometown drivers of Scarborough and Blanchard 5th and 7th. And that's about where they started, though. The field spread was just kind of on another level in this race, and that it wasn't helped by just a lot of attrition and a lot of contact. We had, I believe, at most 9 cars get through this race with no damage to their cars, and even then, Hikari didn't really finish that far ahead of Rebecca Briggs, who did get damage on lap 1, and I don't believe Hikari ever did. He just didn't have enough pace for it to matter. And Friday's edition of the Challenge Series takes us to Watkins Glen, the short course slash NASCAR layout, depending on who you ask. I usually just think of it as the NASCAR layout because I can't think of any other major series that use this version. For a very interesting setup, since we already had a multi-class race earlier in the week for 715 and 640, we elected to do, rather than a typical roulette race at the end of the week, a triple class, basically 3 classes, race of 675, 600, and 525 to cap off the week. Which that is probably the reason we're using the shorter layout, because the 525 cars are there, and that would take forever to make a lap with them around the full circuit. And we are away from the Glen. A familiar face is the POV driver, Alan Thornton, who technically debuted on Wednesday at Mount Panorama, is the POV driver as they are the last placed starter of the 675 class, which has a 7-car field. And then behind them is the 600 class, which also has a 7-car field. And then 6 cars in the 525 class. But the only debuting one for this race is another Hood Classic from Logan Dorsey, which looks like it's maybe having some suspension questions. Then again, I think also looks like it's meant for drag racing. Oh, it probably is having those problems because it's got damage. How? Huh. He just bottomed out and smacked the right front suspension on the EK9. The pair of 4-wheel drive cars leading us towards the end of the first lap. It is still the 10-minute timer you would see in a roulette race. It just isn't a roulette race, obviously. It's also very much JDM at the top 4. Top 5, actually, with Silica battling Alan Thornton, but I think she's going to lose that fight to a Pontiac Grand Prix. And then there's a Chevelle that's going 3 wide with both of them, but has to brake early due to all the extra momentum. Now Alan Thornton is taking the fight to Pepper Mills in the NSX, and I think he will get clear. Yes. So now it's just the remaining JDM cars as Lipa takes the lead away from Nitori, who I swear to God is racing less and less these days. Seems like she's shouldering more and more admin work and doing less and less driving. On one hand, I'm grateful because it means I don't have to do as much. Although, she would probably say she's doing it specifically because I don't do as much as I'm supposed to, which is a lie. Maybe not as much as she wants me to, but I'm doing the correct amount. And also going as far as to get more hands on deck to do it. In the event that one of us is slacking off, there's fucking 7 admins. And now Alan Thornton has passed both her and Riho to take second place. And now there's only a singular skyline between him and the race lead. If I had a nickel for every debuting Pontiac in this week, I'd have 2 nickels if this is Roberts, where this happened twice. Between him in his Grand Prix stock car and Takamiya / Phila's GTO wide body kit, which seems more like a kit car than anything. Modern Pontiacs are apparently in high demand. Admittedly, I wish I could find an 04 GTO or something. Heck, I'd grab a Pontiac Grand Prix and toss it in 525. If that were an option, but I don't think that's ever going to happen. What is an option is this battle for the lead that's taking us through the bus stop. That was an interesting line from Lipa, and it is going to cost her majorly. Alan Thornton to the race lead just over 3 minutes into the competition. And he knows this place. He knows where he should and shouldn't put his car. This is not exactly his home track, as he is a native of Gainesville, Georgia, not Gainesville, Alabama, or Florida. I believe there's one in both, but I know there's one in Florida. I don't actually think there's one in Alabama when I think about it, but the details. Gainesville, Georgia is where Alan Thornton is from. Riho Futaba got damaged from something. She was aggressing breakively. Wow, Riker. Braking aggressively in this battle against multiple cars, we'll say. That Chevelle's got the right setup for this kind of track. That amount of straight line speed is nuts, but he has to kind of suddenly jolt out of the way so he doesn't drive straight through Kawashiro, and that gets in Futaba's way. And basically the only thing that was there to report on lap 4 was literally just that. The Chevelle just out-dragged in the GTO, and it wasn't a contest. Skipping ahead to the exact halfway mark of the race as we begin lap 5. It's pretty evenly spaced between the top 3, who have left the rest of the 675 category in the dust. Jamie Jarrett, meanwhile, is attempting to hold off Barbara and Acampa for the 600 class lead. That Corvette is rapidly approaching. Another Pontiac as well, a Fiero on the grid. And Barbara is attempting to take the lead in the category away from said Pontiac, and looks like she'll have the inside line up the start of the S's, which will help tremendously. Wide arc, very respectful racing. Don't really think I'd expect much else from Barbara, all things considered. Still the battle continues. Basically too wide up the entire S's, but Barbara's going to have to concede. The Fiero has some straight line speed I simply would not have expected. That's a sentence I don't really feel right saying. Barbara is now pushing the car. She's not really pushing her opponent, she just pushes herself. Which is, I guess, just very typical of her style. She doesn't care that she's the fastest driver, she cares that she's the fastest car. That's what, I guess, maybe a little bit of a jaded way to look at it, but it is a way to look at it. Still can't get it done. Gonna make another attempt as they begin lap 6. Down the inside goes the first generation Corvette. This time a little more aggressive on the brakes, but still nothing decisive. Although she might finally be clear, and yes, now it is Jarrett's turn to have to concede the spot. Elsewhere, the 525 class is being lapped by the leaders, which is getting a little chaotic, I would say. Brianna Tao is leading that category at the moment, and Pickens is having to pick his way through, as well as Ava. Giving Thornton a little bit of space, but it's not really much looking at the straight line performance of this Chevelle. He gets the brakes so much earlier that the top speed difference is just null and void. But, yeah, Tao is leading the 525. Nope, it's Sam Hilton now. The lap traffic has also caused chaos in the lower category. Sam Hilton, probably using the opportunity of being lapped, or watching Tao get lapped, will put himself in the category lead, ahead of the decommissioned Hertz. And it's been a race to forget for Logan Dorsey. He's going to have to go back to the drawing board on the suspension setup, because it's not even capable of surviving a lap around here from the way things look. He's having to try and pass last place in 525 for position 8 minutes through a race where he started, I think, in like 4th in class. He shouldn't even be back here, and obviously the reason why is just because he damaged his car, but you know, I think even in other damaged cars would have made up more progress on the lower category than this by now. Silica to pick her way through 525 cars. John Pickens is still very much there. Based on the way the time limit is set, I feel like there are not going to be too many cars that'll start the 9th lap of the race. It might just be the top 2 and maybe Lifa, but I don't think Nitori or Pepper Mills are going to get that far. And Silica and Riho are definitely not. That is not the best bus stop from Pickens. That is going to give quite a bit of space to Alan Thornton. And he's going to need all of that space as we get onto the back straightaway, because that Chevelle, as we've already established, is a weapon in a straight line. Even with Thornton using all of the track, it only gets him so far, but he can brake so much later because he is effectively in a racing car. It is a NASCAR, but it is a race car nonetheless, and it has more mechanical and, at least a semblance of aerodynamic grip that this 1970 brick shithouse just simply does not have. Lifa will start the final lap here. Hattori her and Tepper will barely get one more lap in of racing. Silica and Futaba will not. And this will be the final lap for everybody in the lower categories. Tepper is getting racy on the final lap. He's going to take the fight to the Mitsubishi GTO. Basically the fight we saw between Paige and Jared earlier, but going much faster, and Pepper's going to slide through at the top of the hill. Hattori's probably wishing that they didn't start this 9th lap. Barbara will win in the 600 category. Jarrett and Compa round out the podium. Aqua 11-12, excuse me, and Sam Hilton will win the 575 class, narrowly doing so over Brianna Tao. Logan Dorsey will lose 2 cars in the category below him, courtesy of the damage he sustained. And here comes Alan Thornton. The NASCAR driver wins from the NASCAR track at Watkins Glen. John Pickens gave it damn near everything, but it just was insufficient. And Lifa will head across to round out the overall podium. And that will do it for this week of Challenge Series competition. Things are uncertain. That is all I can say, at least for my end of things. For anyone wondering what in the world happened to the qualifiers for the championship that's usually at 136, yeah, those got moved back a week because, well, I was losing my shit over the whole Avenir Motors problem, and where in the heck, how are we gonna get the rest of Muse back into the series? And then Thrasher and also Veronica were away on personal business of some description. Something came up. So, the 2 main admins not there, it was just kind of, or not really mentally there, I should say, in my case, it was just decided to just move everything back a week. And the qualifiers will be on episode 136 of the Championship 137, so be sure to tune in then.